Hello, good morning. And yes, it is my birthday today. I am a Cancer with Libra rising and Moon in Leo, so that's quite an intense combination, if you know. So, what is this opportunity that we have in travel tech, and how can you grasp it? Last week, I attended two great events: Travel Tech London, which is run by Focusrite, and the annual Stripe and Travel Massive Pitch and Innovation Night, which by all accounts is a highlight of the travel events year, but it was my first time. I watched a few panels over the two events and saw some running themes about what is really needed in travel tech. And no, it's not another chat agent, and how to be a great partner to those big and often more old fashioned companies. So here's some context. Overall, the sense is that travel is surprisingly robust because it's about delivering amazing trips and good service, and that has not changed over millennia. What changes is what the customer expects and wants and how we deliver that service. Alistair Luxmore from Vamoose, the CEO of Vamoose, said that the future for leisure travel is bright. Travel per human has increased year on year since COVID. So, despite the ongoing Middle East situation and the jet fuel price concerns, people still want to travel. Pete Como and Rupak Patti from Focusrite had a really interesting conversation about the potential shifts in travel distribution. They brought up the question of disintermediation, essentially arguing if there is a place for the OTAs and other intermediaries in the age of AI and new connectivity. Rupak said he doesn't think this is a huge threat. AIs are not focused on travel. We actually saw ChatGPT quietly retiring their attempts to allow travel booking in the app this year. And also, the big brands still spend billions on their advertising. And the next point, I really hadn't thought about it this way. Rupak said that Expedia's move into B2B is hedging the risk by being a key intermediary in travel, particularly in the bits that are hard to automate. B2B distribution has always been the hardest bit to automate, with ancient legacy systems, lots of rules and compliance concerns, data protection issues, and when there are so many intermediaries, that all gets amplified. So Rupak is right that an OTA, a pure OTA, is probably the most replaceable intermediary. And in fact, there's already companies like Hotel Trader looking to democratize the connectivity between hotels and travel buyers. So by focusing on the messy middle of B2B distribution, Expedia is embedding itself as an important player in travel rather than a fancy booking platform. Matthew Gardner at Travel Massive shared some early results from his recent research. The majority of respondents around the world said the number one barrier to growth of their travel company is political uncertainty. I think it was about 70%. What's hilarious is that the USA had the smallest percentage who said political uncertainty. I think it was about 20%, so massive lols there. Most travel companies said that lifetime value of their clients is incredibly important to the success of their business. But when asked where they're spending their time and money, there is more focus on acquisition than retention, even though they said lifetime value was important. So that's an opportunity, I think. But the big opportunity that I saw in the last week is friction in B2B distribution. So Alistair said, imagine if you explain to a member of the public how creating a travel itinerary works, they just wouldn't believe you. And that is costing us a fortune, how many intermediaries and how manual it is. He reckoned about 5 to 10% being wasted in inefficiency. Camille Drevillon from Abercrombie and Kent said, clients expect things to be seamless these days and that things just happen. But as we all know, calling a hotel or a safari operator in a different country, dealing with different holidays around the world, and some are still not using digital systems, let alone AI, makes that impossible. John Davies, the CEO of Open Destinations, agrees. He said multi-day tours is the final frontier of automating travel distribution because it's dealing with different elements that guests don't realize are disconnected. So only when a disruptive event happens, like an earthquake or whatever, that's when it becomes clear that nobody's been really talking to each other. And the agents, the travel operators, have overheads and inefficiencies, which means that either they, as operators, are missing out on profit, or the guests are missing out on good prices and pay more, or they're missing out on better service they could have without the inefficiencies. Ivan Tratenberg said that people who work in tourism just don't know how to talk to each other in the same language. And I thought that was really interesting. He used to work in import-export, and he said there were codes which were global. XYZ means XYZ. But in travel, we have different names for the same things all over the place. Just look at the room types in a hotel across different platforms to get an idea of how hard it is to get that uniform. And Ivan said, obviously, we need good processes and workflows for tech to be an enabler. Otherwise, you're just amplifying the mess you already have. He told a story where he created a migrator to move hotel contracts into a new system. Then the company complained that the wrong rates were selling, but they'd actually just left old contracts running and didn't know they were there. So it's like garbage in, garbage out. So the problem with all of this, which Alistair, who is supremely quotable, by the way, said, that the current technology is just a sticking plaster over legacy systems. This has allowed the OTAs to ride a cart of horses through the industry. Oh. So the current technology is just a sticking plaster. How can people disrupt this and fix the actual root problem and grab that opportunity? So one such example is Alice Ferrari from Kite, who was the winner of Stripe's pitch competition. Kite is looking to replace the GDS, and she named no names, but she mentioned the £800 greedy gorilla. And she's doing that by creating an API which is AI friendly for the part of the industry that's easiest to reach, which is the airlines. So she's already connected to more than 10 airlines, so she can connect them directly to travel agents, but also with large corporations booking staff travel. And many of us in the industry know that these few behemoths in airline distribution have traditionally charged an extortionate amount of money to use an ancient system just because they're the gatekeepers. Alice won the pitch competition, and I voted for her because she's definitely doing something important. But I know quite a few people in the room didn't understand what she's doing, and these are travel people. It just goes to show that these problems are really hidden and misunderstood, even from other parts of the industry. So my tip here is to lean into what you know, which may seem obvious to you, because it probably isn't obvious to everyone else. A few more tips on how to be a good technology partner, especially to bigger companies, which are obviously more traditional. Richard Veal from iUrban said most companies should now be looking for not one specialist technology partner, but an intelligence layer to connect different partners. And Alistair agrees. We went from looking for one silver bullet that does it all, CRM, itinerary management, etc., to having specialists in different areas with open APIs and an MCP layer to connect them. So my tip here to my travel tech friends is to look for partners who have the same ICP as you with a different area of the business served. You can build more momentum together than alone because those partners will help you find the people ready to adopt new solutions, and you will help them too. Camille Drevillon had some great and specific tips. She said it depends where you sit from customer facing into internal, and the closer to internal functions and systems you are, the more concern there is about data, GDPR, and cybersecurity. So be prepared to discuss that. She recommends finding out who in the company will be your source of revenue, who's the right person to be your champion, i.e. the users who have the pain points you're going to solve and have the right personality. She says don't go to the CIO or CTO because they'll just work out how to build it themselves. She's also sick of people saying, I understand your pain points. And she said, do you really? When there are so many layered and interconnected issues in travel. You may get the part that you solve, but do you know how that links up to other parts of the business? She also said, be ready to answer both silly questions from senior people who are far away from the problem and the tech, and specific questions from the direct users and tech teams. Questions mean they're engaged. I would add, learn to listen really effectively to pick up on any underlying concerns and also how your product connects with other parts of the business you may not have realized. One of those questions might be around your product roadmap, so you need to be a thought leader and not just reactive. James Lemon from Stripe encourages travel operators to ask their partners what the roadmap is, and that's to see if the businesses will evolve together. So, looking at the pilot principle and the 4 key pillars, first, we're going to start over in self-leadership. Do not doubt the expertise you have. Look for the things and connect the dots in patterns you see in the industry to get one step ahead. Use your skill and expertise that you've built up. You don't need to do something a million miles away from what you're doing. The best founders I see are developing on what they've already done in their corporate life. Make sure you've got your internal champions nailed down, and also work with partners in the industry, so get support from other technology companies in the industry with a similar ICP. And finally, get your communication down. Ask great questions, help them have light bulb moments, listen carefully for the answers, and be ready with your product roadmap. That's it from me for today. Have a wonderful Monday.